Leonard Dawson is the richest man in the world. Powerful people make enemies. If an enemy becomes a problem, someone calls the professional. Codename Golgo 13.
Target, former Nazi SS captain, Bernard Mueller.
I'll take the job.
He never kills for sport. He never misses the mark. And he never gets involved.
Can't you let this one go?
But this time, it's personal. The hunter has become the hunted, because this time, he's the target.
We found Golgo 13. He's preparing to shoot, sir.
Go see if you got him this time.
We had him cornered, he was wounded, and yet he was neither captured nor sanctioned.
The next time, either he dies or you die.
I want to know who's really behind all this. Did you find out who ordered it?
I will not tolerate it a third time. Do you understand me? That the next time you fail is when you all die. We have only one enemy. Golgo 13. Kill him. No!
How long can the professional survive?
Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And today we're going to be talking about Golgo 13, The Professional from 1983, directed by Osamu Dezaki. It's based off of a very popular manga about a no-named assassin. They kind of call him Duke Togo, but you don't know if that's his real name. You don't know his backstory. And it's just kind of the misadventures of this assassin and what he has to go through. Nathan, did you have any experience at all with Golgo 13 before this?
What's funny is I kind of do, because this series got an NES game, and I like retro games, and it's like one of the first games to have cutscenes, and it's just like a side-scroller. You know, I knew of Golgo. I didn't know anything about the shows, the movies, any of the other media. I guess this is the longest-running manga in Japan, which is crazy to me. So that's a rich history. I guess I looked up another fact. It's the third best-selling manga there, only beaten out by Naruto and Dragon Ball.
It's definitely got its rich history. And in fact, this is the first anime film, but not the first feature film of this adaptation. There was a live-action adaptation with legendary Japanese actor Sonny Chiba, who you might remember from Kill Bill. So it definitely has got its place in Japan, and it's just, I haven't seen the live action, so I can't say for sure what it's like, but I can definitely say for sure that's this type of movie, there's tons of style in it, and I think it lends itself perfectly to this type of medium.
I totally agree. But yeah, what about you? What experience have you had with Golgo?
So actually, I had seen this movie beforehand. Because as you know, I like anime.
Oh no!
So this was on like a list of like popular anime movies at the time. So the only thing, and now I probably watched this like when I was in high school. Just to show you how long ago I got this, was I actually rented this on Netflix through the DVD service.
Oh, nice! That's cool.
And I actually believe it was the English dub version of this, so I didn't even see the Japanese version. So this is my first time. So the only thing I remembered going into this one was just the beginning and the end of the movie. I couldn't remember anything about the in-between. So, and the only thing I remembered was the antagonist, Dick Snake, because he's so creepy.
Oh yeah, that's freaky.
So I have seen this movie, and I would like to see the other Golgo 13 movies, because there are more outside of this, but this is the first anime movie, so who knows? Might go down that road some other time, but I liked it a lot then, and I still liked it a lot now.
Yeah, this is my first time going at it. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. It's a ton of fun. It's the kind of anime I like. I like this era of anime like a lot. Has a lot of style. Has just a really great look to it. I think it's very daring for what it's doing with animation. So yeah, I mean, getting right into it. I think from the opening scene, this movie's great. I do. Like, the opening scene is very simple, says nothing, but tells you everything you need to know, right? Mm-hmm. You have, Duke, and he sets up his gun, and he shoots like a politician. And it's all about setup and build up. And just like that, oh, okay, our main character's a hitman. Good. It's never gone back to again, so it's kind of like setting up, oh, yeah, this is just his daily job. This is not important. It's his routine.
Yeah, and it doesn't show him like accepting a job, or it doesn't tell you a whole lot. It doesn't even tell you what his name is. There's no dialogue in that first opening, so it's really cool how you can see like the bullet hitting the guy from a great distance, and it kind of gives you the idea also that he's really great at what he does, and he's just kind of a no nonsense type of guy, just like get the job, get out of there type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and then we get a sick opening title sequence. Oh my god, I love this. I've gone back to it since I've watched it. It's just so cool.
I watched it more than once. It's just, I think you could use this in any James Bond movie from like the 70s or the 80s. I think if you told me that this was from like a James Bond movie from during that time, I wouldn't need much convincing.
No, I totally agree, because it seems very much like James Bond. James Bond would be like, or the makers of that be like, oh yeah, we use CG in our opening title sequence. We're the first movie to do that. And I guess that's the thing. It's the first animated movie to have CG. I'm personally someone that loves the look of dated CG. I think it looks cool. It just has a really good style to it. And I think there's a lot of that here. Like, there's a CG gun loading in the title, then it pops out as CG. It has like an archaic look, but it adds a style to the production that I find really interesting.
Yeah, you could really tell that they really wanted to make something memorable, or they were just really inspired by a lot of these like spy movie type of openings from the time period. And it's not the last time we see CGI. There is a scene where we do see CGI helicopters like flying towards a building, and that so much is not great looking, but for the time period, I would say it would be pretty impressive, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's definitely like, you have to put yourself in time and place, where watching this was so ahead of its time. I'm sure if you were in the movie theater seeing that helicopter sequence where it is all CG helicopters and buildings, it was mind-blowing to think like, oh, this was all made through a computer. That I like to think from that point of view of like what a viewer was experiencing then.
It's kind of like that mindset of like when you watch Toy Story, the first one from '95. I mean, right now it doesn't look great at all. Like the people, like the humans in that movie look horrifying.
The humans are so bad.
So it doesn't look great, but you got to imagine, though, when I was a kid and I saw that movie in theaters, my mind was just blown. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, look at that. Looks so real. It looks just like real life.
It's so weird how CG is, right? Like, better and better, where like you see it's like, oh, wow, that's real. And then maybe 2 years later, you're like, wow, that's garbage. That looks so bad. It's just that it moves so fast.
Yeah. And I think now it's just, you kind of look at it, it's like almost every single movie now has some bit of CGI in it. You're looking at the lens of like, okay, well, I've seen 100 images of CGI. Show me something I haven't seen before. So, but so one thing, all right. So, like I said about the guy himself, Duke Togo, he doesn't really have much of a personality or anything, and I mean, he's just very stone faced. Doesn't show any hint of emotion whatsoever. You don't know what his background is or anything. But one thing is, apparently he is the greatest lover of all time. And He has sex with multiple women in this movie, despite him not doing anything to flirt at all. It's just they actively all want to have sex with him.
Yeah, he locks eyes and then they have sex, and it's in this movie has tits. It's got moaning women. It has it all, if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, Duke is definitely a ladies' man. He does not have to say a single thing, and I don't think he says a single thing for like a good first 20 minutes of this movie.
No, one thing too is like he'll have like sex, but he's not doing anything when he has sex with these women. He's lying there like a cold fish, like a corpse. He's not, his hands are at his side. He's lying on his back, and like all the women are doing the work themselves. I'm like, what?
Yeah, the women are like writhing around and they're just doing all the work, but they're moaning. Like I think I wrote down that the opening sex scene, the moaning this lady was doing was downright dirty.
I know, and it's so funny too because there's another one where he meets a girl. She's an illegal gunsmith that shows she kind of helps him supply guns, and like he's so good. In lieu of payment for the gun, she's like, "Dude, can you just pull my trigger just once?"
I wrote that down too. I love that.
But he's all about the business. He doesn't mind mixing business with pleasure. He definitely does not let feelings get in the way of any business at all.
Because he doesn't have any.
No, he doesn't at all.
But I will say I do that character that says like, "Can you pull my trigger?" I actually really think that character's cool. The gunsmith that, you know, she makes weapons. She drives a really cool car around. She also looks a lot like April O'Neil to me.
Yeah, I could see that. She kind of reminds me of like the movie, like the 80s movies trope where it's like, oh, my nerdy girl best friend, I'm trying to hook up with the hot cheerleader type, but really my best nerdy friend girl is the one I love the most.
I think that woman character is very, very strong, whereas there's another woman character that I feel like is used kind of as a sex symbol. There's a character that kind of just walks around naked a lot of the movie. Like that's kind of her deal. She likes taking off all her clothes on the beach and stuff, and that's kind of what she's there for. She does have sex with Duke.
It is kind of like so we're getting into spoilers, but it's revealed that, you know, because you think she's just like this crime boss's daughter, but it turns out she is the crime boss. So, and she knew so she thinks Duke is coming to kill her father. She's like, "Oh, you're here to kill my father." And then Duke eventually figures out that she's the crime boss, but there's some stuff in there, like, I will admit that was pretty gratuitous. Like she leads Duke to his death. She immediately, like when she thinks Duke is dead, she goes to like a cliff and takes off all of her clothes, jumps off in the water, swims naked, just because.
But I guess to kind of give like a plot synopsis of what happens is Duke gets hired to kill kind of a big businessman's son. And this scene I love because the pool that he falls into is in the shape of a coffin. So after, you know, all that, it's a revenge story because the guy the son's father wants to kill Duke Togo.
Right. One thing I do love about that, because that is the main plot of this guy's trying to kill Duke just for killing his son. It's like a revenge plot against Duke. We don't know who hired Duke to kill this guy's son. We're like, well, why doesn't he just go after the guy that hired Duke? But one thing I do like about it is that's how the movie starts, is he kills the son, and then he goes about this other mission. So you think it's just kind of like this one-off type of thing. They may not even bring it up again, but after he gets done with one job, it immediately gets ambushed by another job, by these people like trying to kill him to get revenge. So the new plot kind of comes in and crashes into like the story, like, oh no, this is what this movie is really all about. So the whole movie's pretty much just Duke overcoming all these odds and trying to get to the father to stop him from attacking him so much. But there's some stuff that it almost makes Duke like out to be a superhero almost. And it's just like almost to the point of it being absolutely ridiculous, because there's one scene where he's trying to kill another target, and he starts out from one building, but there's another building blocking his shot that's in another building. So he has to shoot a sniper rifle that has to perfectly line up through this one building and hopefully go through another building to hit a guy. Mm-hmm. And we don't even know, like, it's just, we don't even know, like what if the guy moved? What if the guy wasn't standing in front of the window? What if the janitor came in behind him and and have something blocking the window? You don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely just like the perfect action movie hero. That's all I got out of it. Like the 80s example of, like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie. Like he's just the ultimate badass, and he is perfect. You know, he can do whatever he wants. You know, he just does it well. You know, he's the world's best hitman. That's what you get out of it. It's far-fetched and ridiculous, but it's fun.
It's supposed to be. That's exactly the whole point.
Yeah.
And that's because it's an anime, you know, you kind of expect like some level of ridiculousness to it. There's not a whole lot of grounded sense in a lot of these things. So, I mean, the oil baron, the father, he's so well connected that he has the U.S. government in his pocket, and he could pretty much just make them do whatever he wants. And Duke is able to easily take out CIA agents. So he's like he's like the perfect assassin. There's nobody better than him. And so much so, like I said earlier, that they actually have to hire their own assassins to go after him. And one of the ones is this one called Big Snake. And the guy is one of the most frightening looking characters in a movie.
Because he slithers around and he's a human, and he just has like these dead, scary eyes.
He's like 7 foot tall. He has 0 teeth in his mouth, so he gums everything like a snake. And he's just kind of slithers around, and there's one scene where he's with a woman and he wraps her up like a snake. It's so gross.
Yeah, the scene that I always think about is there's a scene where she's taking a shower and he wraps around her, and that scene is just freaky because what happens is he pretty much takes advantage of her, I should say.
Right.
But it actually doesn't show it, which I kind of like. It does it in more of a visual style. And I do want to go into about how cool this movie looks, because it doesn't have – it's not very realistic. It uses a lot of neon colors and backgrounds. When cars are moving down the street, it's just like blurs of light, and it's really bright colors. It has a distinct style that I really like.
Yeah, and there's one scene where Duke actually drives through a tunnel, and it's like he's going through like this rainbow tunnel where like it's just this rainbow is like eclipsing his entire car. It looks really cool.
This movie also has a couple really good split screen scenes, which I always love seeing in movies. Like there's a really great one of Duke going up the different floors, like a staircase in a skyscraper. And as he goes up, you get an image of floor 5, and then you see him go up another one, and then another split screen shows up floor 6 as he moves up in the tower. And it's just a really cool visual thing. It adds spice to the movie.
Yeah, you definitely could tell they wanted this to be a very visual type of movie. And the thing, too, I always like is just the amount of detail in a lot of these characters' faces and movements. Like there's one scene where a woman is smoking a cigarette, and you can actually see like her tongue like moving like as she's smoking, and just like the level of detail in their face. If you like freeze framed a lot of these pictures, it would almost be like a painting. It's so detailed.
Yeah. Everything that they drew in this is just really detailed. I don't think they really skimped anywhere. I think they had a whole idea, and it worked. And it's a pretty good length for an anime movie. At an hour 30. So, it's a really great length, especially for something so detailed. It doesn't seem like they.
No, it doesn't overstay its welcome at all. One other thing too that's very visually striking. There's one scene where Big Snake kills a man that's sitting in a rotating chair, and he slits like his entire like the circumference of his neck, and then he spins the guy around, and like as the guy is spinning, like blood is kind of like sparkling, like it just looks like red sparkles in the air, and it's just kind of like doing like this red like sparkly shower, and it looks really cool.
Hyper violent, I will say that, but the violence is really cool. A lot of cool blood, a lot of cool effects. It's really cool, especially when later on in the movie there's these two characters called Gold and Silver, which are supposed to be like the ultimate, I don't know, I guess war veterans. They weren't really in a war. It's like a whole different side story, but
yeah, there were assassins that they were put there. It was a social experiment. They're like, oh, let's just put 40 assassins on an island for for 40 days or something like that. And they were the only two to live, and they were able to kill all the enemy forces too.
Yeah, and these guys have a cool look to them. They wear masks, gold and silver, and they're supposed to be the ultimate foe for Duke, because Duke actually, it's the first time in the movie where he really has to put up a fight, because they do stab him, they do take him down. I really like that because it adds some sort of stakes to Duke, because like you said, he's perfect the rest of the movie, and then you actually see him get stabbed by them, and it's like, oh crap, okay, so he's actually has a chance of really getting hurt here.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only time where there's any stake. I mean, he does get shot by one of the agents, and he gets stabbed like one other time, but it's kind of like he's still like going at 100%. That doesn't really slow him down. This is the one time, because he's battered up at the end of the movie, and when he finally does get to the final boss, so to speak, on the top floor, he's like clutching his side. He's almost bleeding to death. It's one of the times he actually looks vulnerable.
But that's Duke, right? Like I feel like in the end, Duke wins. You know, he's a powerful man, and you know he's going to win because he's our action star.
Thing I will say about the story that I like, and I don't know if they maybe should have made it more ambiguous, but at the beginning of the movie, the father is kind of justified. I mean, he wants to know who killed his son, and he's wanting revenge. So, I mean, he's this really powerful man. So at first, you're kind of sympathizing. You know, like if I had that money, I would want to bring this guy to justice. I would want revenge. I mean, like if you had that mindset or those resources, maybe. And then as we go further along in the movie, we kind of realize it starts turning into an obsession, so much so that he's willing to sacrifice his entire family, his fortune, the U.S. government. And one thing that they do reveal in this movie about how powerful that this guy is, and because I want to talk about it, is apparently this man was behind the JFK assassination.
That's right. And that kind of just comes up in the movie. It's just like, it happens, and I remember sitting there like, is that what are they talking about, the JFK assassination?
Because they even say, they're like, oh well, we understand that the reason why you called for that assassination of JFK because it was mutually beneficial, but this is just crazy.
So this man has some ties, and I think it does a good job of making sure that it's very morally gray, because you know Duke's not a good guy by any means, but neither is this guy. You know, nobody really is a good guy in this whole situation.
I guess we could talk about the very, very ending of this movie. Is Duke runs into the man at the very beginning that he killed. He runs into his wife, and she's kind of a broken human being by all the events leading up to this end of the movie. A lot of bad stuff happens to her, and she sees Duke, and she kind of loses it. And at the end of the movie, Duke kind of walks away from her, and she pulls out a gun and fires, and that's how the movie ends. Obviously, they don't really say what happens, and obviously he does live because there's more movies past this. But I was just kind of wondering, like, what your thoughts were, like, what actually happens at the end. Do you think she intentionally misses, or do you think Duke just takes the hit and moves on?
I don't know. Man, what did I think when that moment happened? That's a really good question. I guess in my head, I was envisioning she did hit him, but Duke, knowing Duke the rest of the movie, he would have just taken the bullet and just walked away.
That was kind of my interpretation of it too. It was just like, okay, like, yeah, I killed your husband and I killed your father-in-law, so your family is kind of like in shambles right now, so this makes you feel better, I'll let you shoot me, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can bet you, and I'd love to do more down the road, more stuff from this franchise. I bet you the next movie doesn't even touch on what happened after that. I'm sure it's just a snappy way to end the movie.
No, I can guarantee you that it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, but if you're really big on style, the story is pretty basic, but that's kind of what you're looking for in these type of things. You're just like, show me some boobs, show me some guns, show me some violence, show me a lot of people dying. It gives you everything you want, and plus too, with it being like that late 70s, early 80s psychedelic kind of look to it, and just a lot of neon. It looks great. One of the best looking movies that I think we've talked about. So I agree. I definitely recommend it.
Oh yeah, I think it's a high recommendation for me. I think it's just a really cool part of anime history. I think if you're into anime, this is a definite, like, you should go watch this because it's just a really neat movie. And even for non-anime fans, I think it's a really just stylish, cool animated film. Definitely has its place in animation history.
I mean, personally, if it was not an animated movie, it was live action, and it looked like this, I think a lot of action fans would love it.
I agree. Yeah, I could see that.
I think that's it on this movie, unless there's anything else we didn't go over. Or...
No, I think we did a pretty thorough breakdown of Golgo 13.
Yeah. So, Nathan, what will we be talking about next time?
Dark Star from 1974, John Carpenter's student film. Yeah, and you can watch Dark Star over on Tubi if you want to tune in and give it a watch before the episode drops.
Michael Myers in space, right?
Yes, Michael Myers in space before Jason did it.
All right, and you know what? We really love fan engagement. We're trying to hear any suggestions you guys may have. Is there a movie you wanted us to talk about, or is there anything that you want to tell us? You like the podcast? You don't like the podcast? Please let us know at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and just let us know you're out there watching. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear what your beautiful people are thinking.
Yeah, please send us stuff. We'd love to hear it.
Yes, can't wait.
All right. And and we'll see y'all later. Have a good night.
See ya.